Equally Yoked Show. Get yoked for free. Count it all joy. Charles is back online.
Well, I'm going to be with you tonight. You are ruthless, brother. Dead Man Lives. You're going to put your emotional support helmet for this one, putting your Care Bear emotional support helmet. Look, we're looking at a story here. This is Joe Biden, whose cancer has spread further, leaving him in a very painful condition, Hunter Biden reveals. Now, we'll be going over the story and a couple other things as we react to some of the things, one of the executive orders that Donald Trump signed, and just maybe a few other biblical things that I want to look at to just share with you. However, this article that we're looking at here is we've been hearing, rather lack thereof, other than the audio that was released by the DOJ concerning Joe Biden's interview, where he spilled some beans. And anyway, we're looking at this article here. It says Joe Biden's cancer has spread further, leaving him in a very painful condition, Hunter reveals. Now, of course, look, I just want to say this, despite the criticism that we've had of the Joe Biden administration, health, and all this stuff, we've always had a sympathy for the fact that they put this man in front of the American people and they made them look like a fool because of his mental capacity, his capabilities, and honestly, it wasn't very graceful. They should have had this. The situation could have been a 25th Amendment type deal because he really couldn't run the country. And of course, this is not good news for the past president, but it says the former president's son described the stage 4 cancer as very painful and very debilitating, during an interview. And so Jill Biden admits Joe would not have been able to serve another 4 years, citing cancer diagnosis. Now, if you guys remember this interview with Jill Biden, we looked at her interview just a couple of weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago, where she was talking about Joe Biden and what they had to do to make sure that their son Hunter got a pardon. And that the Trump DOJ would be going after him if indeed Donald Trump was elected. So they had to act quickly. They had to move. And this is this wasn't the clip that I played, but let's play this nonetheless for our audience here to see what she talks about concerning this.
Can I ask you, Dr. Biden, do you still...
Whoa, what is going on here? I don't know where that feedback is coming from. All right, I don't know. I don't think we're going to play that because we've got some double audio there. Anyway, despite that, maybe we have some issues here. All right. I don't know. I'm not really sure why this is double audio. Double
think
audio.
That he would have been in a good place to serve as president for another 4 years until he was 86.
Well, not from what I know now. I mean, my God, who knew? I mean, it was so shocking to get that cancer diagnosis. I mean, we had, here I was. I'm looking through travel magazines like, oh, where are we going to go? What are we going to do? And then we get this cancer diagnosis, and I think, what am I doing? Like, our whole life has changed now. And so, I mean, it was just shocking.
Her whole life has changed. Dr. Jill Biden, who has expressed sympathy after his loss, saying that he did a good job during his debate. Look, there were some very contradictory statements that she was making after the fact, but otherwise, it says here the former president Joe Biden's prostate cancer has spread and is causing him significant pain. His son Hunter Biden revealed during a Friday interview the cancer has spread, metastasized into his bones, and further, Hunter Biden told the BBC in an interview that aired Friday. It's very painful and it's very debilitating. Wow, it just kind of skips over my mind, that word. In many respects, it says, it's really sad to watch, Hunter Biden said. The only thing that I'd say about my dad, about his health right now, is I wish he would complain more, but it's not good. That's an interesting statement. Anyway, despite his poor health, Hunter Biden has said his father is still doing his thing, attending speaking engagements. I mean, bro, you don't got to cover for your father. If your father cannot be, I mean, if it's causing that much pain, look, I'm sure it's all real, but you don't have to say that he's out there doing the gig, you know? He's got to be home. He's got to be home. You know, there's nothing more to it. So Joe Biden revealed his prostate cancer diagnosis in May 2025. Now, what was interesting is that people were talking about the fact that how did the, you know, health officials that work with presidents for, you know, looking at, you know, doing all these health checks for Joe Biden, and yet they couldn't find prostate cancer. That was very strange when this diagnosis was, you know, revealed. Here, the diagnosis at the time was at the cancer. The cancer at the time was that the cancer was stage 4, aggressive, and had already spread to his bones. He received a Gleason score of 9, including both the cancer's aggressive nature and the potential that he had been living with it for years. Yet they couldn't find it when he was in office. Everybody that was, you know, criticizing the current president, Donald Trump, for his health checks, they're skeptical about his hand and the bruising on his hand. And people said that it's, well, health officials said it's just often that people, you know, when people take, I think it's aspirin or whatever it is, the medicine that he's taking at his age, it causes bruising on your hand. And so, you know, people were so concerned, concerned in probably the most negative way possible. They don't care about the president's health, his life. We know how that goes. And so, anyway, I want to know your thoughts concerning all of this. Email me your thoughts, or you can let me know in the chat here. The email is freedom@equallyyokeshow.com. So we're going to continue reading this article a little bit longer. It says he had it while he was president. There we go. It says Dr. Ezekiel J. Emanuel, vice provost and oncologist at the University of Pennsylvania, adding Joe Biden probably had it at the start of his early presidency in 2021. Now, I guess if they knew it internally, why wouldn't they also announce this to the public? Because they wanted him to win? They wanted him to be the president? Is that why? Rather than taking care of their own? Instead, let's just put him out there and make a joke out of him? That's pretty sad. That's pretty morbid if you think about it. And this is the video that we've played time and time again. I mean, this was the sort of mental level that Joe Biden was at.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him
So, you know, I don't know. We've looked at many clips. By the way, guys, am I doubling in audio? I just want to make sure that I'm not doubling myself. Or is it just the videos that I'm playing? Somebody help me out here. Dead Man Lives. Can you tell me what's good? Has anybody considered that the COVID shots he got contributed to his cancer and dementia? Is the audio double on your end? Like the audio, the clips that I'm playing? Or is it just, you know, I'd like to know that. Appreciate it. It says, has anybody, could this contribute to his dementia, his cancer? It's very unlikely. Very unlikely, because COVID has been known to affect more or less the heart rather than the brain or cancer or anything like that. So you say play another clip. Okay, so we're going to be watching, you know, I think you just want me to play a clip of Joe Biden. Let's say Joe Biden. I got it here. All right. Here we go.
The old expression, the proof of the pudding's in the eating. I mean, I respect the fact that people would say, you know, you're old. But I think it relates to how much energy you have and whether or not the job you're doing is one consistent with what any person of any age would be able to do.
How would you say your mental focus is?
Oh, it's focused. I think it's, I haven't, look, I have trouble even mentioning, even saying to myself, my own head, the number of years. I no more think of myself as being as old as I am than fly.
Nobody understood what he said in that, straight up. I tried to mouth what he was saying because I think it's just funny. All those videos, it became a trend. This interview became, the audio from the interview became a trend online where people were just, doing some funny stuff. I think a good trend, albeit. But anyway, Biden sniffed little girl's hair on TV. Yeah, we saw that. COVID shots don't contribute to dementia or cancer. There's no credible evidence that to that. And if you're seeing something that said it, let me know. Yeah, got it. So it says from every single year from 2008 to 2024, Biden should have been tested every year, multiple times a year, in the same way that both Obama and Trump have been. Yeah, and that's the thing. Why wasn't this known until after the fact that he wasn't going to be running for president? Until, as they said, May 2025. That's when they found out, or that's when it was revealed. And I mean, stage 4 cancer. He's 83. And so this is what Jill said, right? He keeps his schedule, but he slowed down. I mean, severely. It was his. He's the videos that will, wherever he's at an event, you see these videos of Joe Biden and what to do, doesn't know who to speak, who to look at. It's just crazy. And so, let's sort of, for sure, keep those even in opposition in your prayers for those that are believers in Christ, and they will act in the right manner and pray for the past president, because, obviously that is our duty, our responsibility to pray for our leaders and those who are in authority, even those who are past leaders. Pray for the fact that their hearts get changed. I mean, come on, they get healed, whatever the case is, to glorify God, that God would be glorified in every single moment. You say, I go to my primary doctor every 3 months for a checkup. That's good for you, man. It's very good for you. Love it. I go to the doctor anytime something's wrong, which is rare. Not that I'm not sick, or, we all get sick, right? Probably should be going to the doctor more often than not. That's a good thing. And I get it. Some people, they get hit with bills and they don't know what to do with that. I can't go to the doctor. They say, I can't go to the doctors because I'm going to get hit doing a simple, whatever. Simple test. So what was also interesting in the last couple of days, we saw, obviously, we've been seeing this issue on birthright citizenship, the issue of birth tourism. And Donald Trump took this, this was challenged by a lower court to the Supreme Court of this issue on birthright citizenship. And they debated quite extensively concerning this, the specific language that was utilized in the 14th Amendment, or utilizing the 14th Amendment, which is a sort of broad amendment to cover a whole host of things. And it was subject to the jurisdiction thereof, which the Elk versus Watkins establishes that subject to the jurisdiction means complete political jurisdiction, not just being subject to local traffic laws or police regulation, or not subject to any foreign power, pulled directly from the Civil Rights Act 1866. The framers rejected British common law, where anyone born on the soil belongs to the king, in favor of consensual political allegiance, or lawfully domicile. To establish true allegiance to the U.S., an individual must have legal presence and a permanent intent to remain. Illegal entry voids this completely. Or temporary sojourner, The framers explicitly excluded diplomats, visitors, and those without the legal capacity for domicile and automated citizenship protection. And the highly debated one, which is Wong Kim Ark, the left loves this case, but they ignore the core truth that the ruling strictly applied to parents who had a permanent lawful domicile in the U.S., not transient or illegal invaders. And so we had this debate that was happening in the Supreme Court, and this is Donald Trump more recently, where we're going to look at this executive order, this new executive order concerning birthright citizenship so far. Send them in the chat. You say, no, it's and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, which means you're a citizen being subject. Otherwise, you're subject to the jurisdiction of your home country until you are a citizen. Yeah, and this is these are the things that they were debating. And Clarence Thomas made a interesting and important statement concerning this. Justice Thomas, concerning birthright citizenship, he says, I am not sure that today's opinion, because this is the Supreme Court upholding birthright citizenship. He says, I'm not sure. Let me show you the image to just see what I'm looking at here. It says, I'm not sure that today's opinion will stand the test of time. The citizenship clause added greatly to the dignity and glory of American citizenship. Today's opinion devalues that citizenship. And so, Justice Alito, let's take a look at this clip here.
Separate dissent. Who brought this up during the arguments. This is his separate dissent. He says the court's interpretation also has national security implications. Suppose that a person's only connection to this country is that he was born here to a mother who was present just long enough to give birth and then quickly return to her native country. Suppose that country is a strategic adversary or enemy of the United States. Suppose the child never visited the United States while growing up and was inculcated with hatred of this country. According to this court, now that person is a citizen of the United States. He can enter and leave the country as this country. He cannot be deprived of his status as a citizen, at least under current precedent. He goes on to say that this decision today also provides a powerful incentive to enter or remain in this country illegally. He goes on to say, in my judgment, the court has made a mistake that will seriously affect the country's future. So some very pointed dissents here from those who raised these very big concerns during the arguments. And they're real world scenarios, which are not a fantasy. They're not a movie. I mean, these things that can actually happen now under this ruling that you have today from the majority.
So, as we said, Donald Trump signs executive orders on birthright citizenship in order to establish something that is more concrete and to make America a place where we aren't just allowing people on bad, understandings of the Constitution, people taking advantage of this by being challenged in court concerning birthright citizenship, that we can actually establish a nation that has borders and boundaries and is willing to enforce said borders and boundaries and laws and uphold these. So let's take a look at this clip of him signing these executive orders so we can get a better idea, a better understanding.
Right. I think you need to put this in the context of everything else that's happening. Manufacturing productivity is the highest it's been in years. We haven't seen any growth like this for forever. Under President Biden, the last part of his presidency, he lost 220,000 manufacturing jobs. The president has stabilized this. Now the manufacturing jobs are going up. So all of these indicators on manufacturing are happening. And it's because of tariffs. It's because of trade actions. It's because of the investment credits you've given people, the tax credits.
Now, this, of course, was a whole host of other executive orders that are being spoken of here. I do want to mention some comments. You seem to be posting a few here. You say, no, it means that you don't no longer go through the immigration system in any way. That's what if you read it in plain English, but it says I'm born citizen or naturalized citizen and subject to the jurisdiction, which means you're not under immigration law. When you are a citizen of a different country, you are under their jurisdiction. When you get a visa, it's granted by both countries, not just us. The only statuses there are is a visa holder which is temporary, and a green card holder. Everyone else should be a citizen or a naturalized citizen. And usually, if you're a green card holder, you are attached to a U.S. citizen who is your sponsor, or a family member who is your sponsor. Those permanent resident green card holders, they're not individuals. They are attached to somebody 9 times out of 10. See, and then once you go for your citizenship, but you don't even have to, as a green card holder, you can renew your green card forever. I'm told you pass until you pass away. You say, so therefore, the only citizens born here, it should be from a green card holder, a naturalized citizen, or a born citizen, which would be none of the parents at least. But the problem is, when you read the 14th Amendment, it does not give you any direction about birthright citizenship. And this is why a lot of people debate this specific amendment concerning that it's too broadly written, although the desire for the 14th Amendment to be something that is beneficial, the word I'm looking for is more of the term I'm looking for. I'm trying to figure it out. So I appreciate that. Seems like you know quite a bit about this. Some of the stuff that you're talking about here. I don't know. Maybe you're invested in some looking into this as of recent. I appreciate your comments. Thank you so much for that. China or any other country would never use birthright citizenship to invade America. Yeah, isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? I think you, I'm a little slow here, but I think you're making a very sarcastic statement there, because, you know, that's what they've been doing. So anyway, let's play this.
You're doing the energy policy. All of it is bringing manufacturing back here, protecting American workers and American jobs.
Well, tariffs are bringing us hundreds of billions of dollars worth of dollars. I mean, just money, the money that we've never seen anything like it, with no inflation.
That's why I say that, because Dead Man Lives, I know he's doing a little bit of a sarcastic joke there. Same way Americans in other countries having kids get a birth certificate in America. Yeah, all these issues that we're looking at is a security threat, national security threat. If we don't address this promptly, we're seeing these issues that, look, you look at all these candidates that are coming out, these democratic socialists that are coming out from out of the woodworks. You're looking at Michigan, which is the huge one that is being broadcast far and wide, and how big this was a win, and with Al Said and all this stuff, right? Zohar Mamdani, all these folks had parents who came from these third world countries, or these nations where it's, Islam is the dominant religion in that region, where they are under Sharia law, and all these other, countries where they come from, their parents come from, or even if they've even been naturalized into America because they came to America for either, fleeing for temporary protected status from their country, whatever the case may be. Ilhan Omar, you have, Rashida Tlaib, all these people, if they were born in America, they have parents who are coming from another country. And often, in some cases, it seems like the ideals or the ideology of the parents translate over into these people, these democratic socialists that are now running in America. Welcome. You're from the UK. Appreciate you for joining us. By the way, you're from the UK. How is it going with what we're seeing from America's standpoint with the Muslim population growing in that issue, in that regard? Is there? I want to know your thoughts. You live there. You're from there. What's going on there? You say Fix has a lot of times when you're a foreigner. He said, but if you have an American child, you basically go with that child because you're the guardian with the benefit. I've citizenship as a parent or guardian. You got some typos there. So I wonder, are benefits being given to this American child while they're children growing up in the other country? That'd be interesting to find out. Yeah. So a lot of these children with birth tourism this is happening specifically with Chinese people coming from China who are coming to America, and they are spending thousands of dollars, 30,000, a lot of money to give their, to have their children born in America. They go back to China. They learn, they get indoctrinated by Chinese doctrine, and then they come back to America. They have ties with an American citizen, these parents, and that is their children. And so they often will be their sponsors, of course. And so once they turn 18, they can vote. And by 2030, a lot of these, I think there's over 1 million Chinese that will be eligible to vote. So this becomes a huge problem for the indoctrinated that go to China to get indoctrinated. They come back to America because they have their their American citizenship, and they bring what China is meant to what it seeks to do to America. If you actually look at the name China itself, the name China actually is let me see if I can, it means Middle Kingdom. China itself literally means central kingdom or middle country, carrying the historical, cultural wide view that China is the center of the world. They want to dominate the world. And so an op-ed written was over 1 million Chinese voters. Birth tourism will destroy the country from a nation that wants to come out on top. So a lot of interesting stuff concerning China, what we're looking at on the horizon, concerning Chinese citizens that have come to America. They're indoctrinated in China, and they come here because they have citizenship, because they were born here. It's a big problem. It's known.
Said, there'll be inflation. We have very low inflation. We brought inflation way down. I inherited the worst inflation in the history of our country. They say 48 years, but I say the history of our country, and from the Biden administration, and we're bringing it way down. So the numbers beyond the money being brought in, the number of factories being built in our country is more now than we have ever seen before. There's never been anything like it. And you're going to see the results. And you're seeing the results already in construction jobs, because they're being built all over the country. But in another year, as they start to open, there's never been, we call it the golden age of America, and that's what it is. Now, if we could talk, Steve, maybe you could discuss what we're dealing with on birthright citizenship. We had a very unfortunate decision in the Supreme Court concerning birthright. It was close, but a very, very unfortunate decision. So we're making adjustments because it's very unfair. This was done for a different reason. This was done right after the Civil War. This was for the babies of slaves. And what's happening now, people are building businesses around it. From wealthy people are building businesses around birthright citizenship. That's not the way it's supposed to work. It's a disgrace. They're buying their way in. And we're not going to let it happen. So, Steve, if you will, please.
Yes, so today the President signed these 2 executive orders here relating to birthright citizenship and birth tourism. As the President mentioned, the 14th Amendment was passed exclusively in the aftermath of the Civil War to ensure that the children of slaves would be citizens. It had no other meaning and purpose outside of that. And that's been clear, obviously, since the day that it was passed. You can go back and you can read the congressional debates. This is not something that's even seriously contested by anybody. The President is using his authority as Commander-in-Chief to sign first an executive order using the new ruling the Supreme Court issued to expand the definitions of people who are ineligible for birthright citizenship. That includes, for example, alien enemies of the United States, members of foreign terrorist organizations, and large categories of people who lobby and act on behalf of foreign governments. And so with taking this action, it ensures that large numbers of people who wrongly would be getting birthright citizenship will no longer be eligible for those benefits. The second action that he's taking, which is especially historic, is for the first time ever in American history to ban birth tourism. So I want you to really let that sink in. This has been something that people have talked about not only for years, but for decades. The idea that people come here pretending to be a tourist, pretending to be a visitor, saying they want to go to Disneyland, they want to go visit a monument or go to a national park, but the real reason they're here is to have a child, to make that child an automatic citizen, leave our country, and then have a U.S. citizen child. It gives them access under this broken system to welfare benefits, ultimately to the voting booth, and all the other rights and privileges that belong solely to Americans. So that practice of birth tourism is, as of the signing of this order, hereby banned. And what that means is that no one in the world is any more allowed to obtain a visa for this fraudulent purpose. It is probably, and President Trump has done many historic things on immigration, too many to list now, sealed the southern border shut, record deportations, record integrity, stopping foreign terrorist entry, record reduction in drug seizures, dismantling criminal cartels, dismantling the gangs, right? Everything he's done that has been so unprecedented. I would put this in the top 3 in terms of importance because it ends what has been one of the gravest and most egregious abuses of the American system, and it keeps American citizenship sacred.
Thank you. Okay?
Mr. President?
It's big stuff. That's a big deal.
Mr.
Please, go ahead.
Thank you. On the birth tourism executive order, what are the plans for enforcement in terms of cracking down on birth tourism hotels that's common in parts of
We're
California?
cracking down very big crackdowns, and this will give us the right to do it in a much more forceful manner. But they've taken birthright citizenship and they've made a joke out of it. And we're actually the only country of size, I think just about the only country, period, that does birthright citizenship. I thought
Other nations won't do this because they know the destruction. Well, I think a lot of others like Spain are conducting their own type of destruction in other ways. But anyway, nonetheless, what we've been seeing in America and what's happening in America is truly dangerous. And look, although a lot of people are expecting an economy that is booming, an economy that is, as promised, the sort of promises made, promises kept campaign message, these things take time to be put into effect. And we saw obviously the opposition by the lower courts, the opposition by by many who have sued the Trump administration because of these either executive orders or laws that he is trying to enact. Things like with what's happening in Congress, we're looking at the SAVE Act and, things such as voter ID, things such as the Big Beautiful Bill and I'd say the issues on it, but the issues are with the Democrats where they don't want to pass, a lot of these policies that will further America into the place that we want to be at the end of his 4-year term. So nonetheless, these are the things that I wanted to share with you today. Hope you guys can join me for another stream. Thanks so much for being here. You say, let's see here. See if there's any. Thune has not been really good in his position here, to say the least. Okay, Thune needs to. I think we need to put somebody else in that position. Leader John Thune needs to be replaced, and we need to look for somebody stronger, somebody who's willing to do the hard thing, not go on another recess, but actually stay and get what needs to be done for the American people. We hold the power, and if Republicans can't use that power, they don't know how to use the power. Look, Democrats know how to use power. They do. And when they have it, they use it. So, nonetheless, subscribe to the podcast. Thanks so much for being here. We'll be back on another broadcast to discuss more stuff on the U.S. front. We'll look more at this birthright citizenship stuff on another broadcast. You say, yeah, can you culture that you grew I'm not sure. Yeah. Can you culture that you grew up with, especially like your first 5 years? I'm not sure I understand your comment. You say Democrats do no longer do anything at all for the citizens. No, it's for their own party, really. Dangerous to who little white guy like you, they can't compete. I don't think your comment even makes sense. And if you're referring to me, I'm not white. Anyway, my skin is white, I guess you could say, but what are we talking about here? There's this discussion that I've had with friends and people because I used to hire people as a manager, and the question always, for me, as I'm filling out whatever, we've all filled out applications here, and you got the two questions: race, and ethnicity. And you try to like look into the okay, your race, and you got ethnicity, you got the answers that are there. Even if you Google it, it's just like the answer is just not clear. Okay, your skin color can be white, but the questions are very contradictory. You answer one or the other. If you say race, your race is white, but then your ethnicity is Hispanic, Latino, not white. I think that's one of the answers. It's just funny. I don't know. I don't know how it works. All right, somebody we get some kind of I don't know, somebody who studies this to answer this question. Say, why are you struggling to name one of the policies? Name one that's going to help someone that doesn't make over 100 million. Just one name, just one. I'm not sure if you're referring to somebody else. Name one of these policies. What policies are we talking about here? What are we talking about here? Listen to him feeling around. There's nothing there. There's no... What are you talking about? See, Mamdani and Kamala doing accent change-ups daily. Oh, for sure. For sure. I think we need to get more aggressive too. I think the Republicans, Trump administration, I forget his name at HUD. We need to go more aggressive on getting homes to be built quicker, cheaper, but of course with quality. But cheaper means let's deregulate. Let's remove all the restrictions that places like California, New York, all these other places where you have these environmentalists that go in and they try to make sure that it is so impossible to build homes. And these the types of processes take forever because of the permitting, because of the environmentalists that need to come in and they do the research on the land, all this stuff that costs, hundreds of thousands of dollars when you add it all up. And even then you have land plots here in America. You're looking at just land alone that are less than an acre that are over $1 million. There's not even one single piece of foundation left at all. We also need to look at areas we can expand into, federal land. Certain federal. Now, we're not talking about what everybody was freaking out that Donald Trump passed this, or I think this was added in the big beautiful bill, talking about building on federal land, but we're not talking about parks. Everybody was going crazy. The left was going crazy, saying that Donald Trump wants to ruin national parks. No, that's not the federal land that we're talking about here. We're talking about like literally just miles and miles. Especially you look at California, how much federal land there is. There are a lot of places that you can build and create wonderful neighborhoods. There was a neighborhood that was set to be built in California. The person actually fled and left to Texas to build there instead. If California doesn't turn around real quick, we need to vote in somebody like Steve Hilton to really make a change, the change that we need to see. You say housing and affordability got messed up when Biden invited 15 million plus randoms who invited them to the kickback. Yeah, it especially in the sanctuary cities, we saw huge increases in rent and in daily goods, all this stuff that continues to increase. And yeah, it's just bad. You say Steve Hilton's a joke. Why is Steve Hilton a joke? Democrats say voter ID is racist. I mean, you know who's a joke? Gavin Newsom. You know who was also a joke? Karen Bass. You know who was also a joke? Communist. Who's the other girl? I forget her name. Nithya Raman. Freaking Top Ramen. Nithya Raman is just horrible. These two have been in power in California. They have not done a single thing for Californians, especially when it comes to the homelessness in LA specifically. And so you expect Karen Bass, who has popularity, Nithya Raman, who still has a chance at winning. These folks won't do anything for Californians. And the things that Steve Hilton is getting his hands dirty in for the main event, you could say, in November, he's gearing up for some very important things. And the stories that have been coming out with Javier Becerra, I mean, the trafficking that was happening under his watch in California. Actually, when he was director at HHS, the schemes that he allowed to happen under his watch. Where's this clip? I thought I saved it. I don't know if I saved it. Oh, you know what? I think I just saw it. I don't know how I missed it. You know what? Anyway, we can play it another time, but Steve Hilton went and he exposed all this online. A whistleblower who spoke of, this article, Javier Becerra's migrant child record back in spotlight after advisor alleges dozens of deaths. We could take a look at this for a moment here. Javier Becerra's handling of children migrant crisis is casting a long shadow over his time as U.S. Health Secretary. Now it could haunt his California governor bid as alarming as new allegations emerge about children lost in the system. John Fabricator, a senior advisor with the Department of Health and Human Services Office of Refugee Resettlement, told the California Post that roughly 330,000 cases involving migrant children released during Becerra's tenure remain unresolved. He also claimed that more than 40 children processed by the agency have since died. This the California that we want to be run by this evil man? Look, it's not good. It's not going to be looking good. California is going to be destroyed. That's just the last straw. I mean, you can't get any worse than, you think you couldn't get worse than Gavin Newsom, but Javier Becerra, California's just lost. Can it really turn around? My goodness. California's in for some hell. Subscribe to the podcast. Thanks for joining me, guys. Yes, Becerra is a monster. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.